Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Brakaha Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, the great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 1. This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, that ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us the apostles of the Lord and Savior. Verse 3, and the header reads, the coming day of the Lord, and not of Jesus Christ, the true Messiah, Yahawashi Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, who doesn't look like a so-called white man or Edomite with brown stringy hair. He has the appearance of a dark-skinned Negro with a white woolly afro and beard. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts. And the brothers out there on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this, know that we are living in the last days, really the last seconds of these last days, with many of these scoffers walking in their own lusts, coming up to the camps talking shit and commenting on our videos talking shit. And a lot of it is 2/3 of you Israelites are so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Here we are telling you that you're the true children of Israel and what you can do to find salvation, but you come hard against us to try to debunk the doctrine and be everything else under the sun but who you are, the children of Israel. And then you've got these heathen nations, especially these Edomites, trying to tell us that we're not Israel and that everything we're saying is not going to come to pass. Verse 4, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. We also hear this. Hey, where is the promise of his coming? The coming of the Lord, this Yahawashi Hamashiach you talk about. We heard our grandparents talk about the coming of the day of the Messiah. Or we've heard about the MOB since we were young as well. We heard it was the social security number. We heard it was a Sunday Sabbath. We heard it was the $1 bill, and now you're saying it's this microchip implant? That's just madness. Or World War III, nuclear war. We heard our grandparents and our parents talk about it since the Cold War days between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. And look, we're still here. You're just going to keep talking that biblical nonsense, and nothing's going to happen. Everything's going to go on as it's been going on. Well, you people are about to learn, because we are indeed living in the last seconds of these last days, where all these major prophecies that the men of the Lord have been preaching about are about to come to pass, and the majority of you are going to take part in the judgments of these prophecies to come. Verse 5, for this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in of the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished, talking about the days of Noah, which is the first death in the Bible, where the Most High judged this planet and the people on it for the wickedness they've been committing by flooding it. And best believe that during the days of Noah, when he was building that ark and preaching that it was going to rain and the floods were coming, that there were scoffers back then telling him that he was a madman and that it was never going to rain and that there was never going to be a great flood that was going to take out many people. Well, you saw what happened to them. Verse 7, but the heavens and the earth, which are now, the times we're living in right now, the last seconds of the last days, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and the perdition of ungodly men. This is talking about the second death, which is quickly coming, where the Most High is going to judge this planet again, and the majority of you people on it for your wickedness, by fire this time instead of water, nuclear-tipped ICBMs being shot to the ends of the earth. Nuclear war is biblical. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. And here's the point I ultimately wanted to get to in verse 10, and the header reads, a new heaven and earth. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And that thing that's going to melt the elements with fervent heat and burn up the works in the earth are those nuclear-tipped ICBMs being shot to the ends of the earth. Like I just said, nuclear war is biblical, and those heavens passing away is talking about this current age of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, coming to an end. Because in the scriptures, heavens and hell can be symbolic for a condition that a nation of people are living in. You Edomites are currently living in your heavens because you're in rulership and at peace, and the children of Israel are living in their hell because they're in slavery and being tormented. But after these nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth and Yahushua has saved his elect, there's going to be a role reversal. You Edomites and other heathen nations are going to go into your hell, serving for 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery in the kingdom of heaven, and the children of Israel, beginning with the elect, are going to be in their heavens, ruling in the kingdom of heaven for eternity. And again, this is all going to happen when those nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth during this upcoming Third World War, the Third Woe. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. World War II, which is past, and World War III, which is quickly coming, and it's going to be a nuclear war. And I started this video off with these precepts to preface an article from dailymail.co.uk titled, Pentagon document warns the world is moving closer to a nuclear war. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter, when the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the works in the earth shall be burned up, because Russia and China are developing new nuclear missiles, bombers, and submarines. So if you have that spiritual eyesight, you can clearly see that the Most High is not slack concerning his promises. With each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to this nuclear-armed Third World War and the salvation of the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect. And nations like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and the allies of the United States of America, such as Britain, France, Germany, and these other NATO nations, which are going to turn against her at some point during World War III, are going to all together shoot 200 million nuclear missiles onto the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Sodom and Egypt as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8. And it's going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards that's going to stand as a memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looked like, how not to govern the earth, and what the judgment and the punishment is for touching the apple of the Most High's eye, the true children of Israel, who are again the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But let's get into this article. The U.S. says there is an increased potential for nuclear conflict with the country's main enemies because they are stockpiling nuclear weapons. Russia and China have been modernizing and expanding their respective arsenals over the last decade, according to a recently disclosed 2020 report from the Pentagon on nuclear operations. And North Korea has accelerated testing of missiles capable of reaching America's homeland, and Iran has the technology to create a nuclear weapon within a year of deciding to do so. It says the U.S. has tried to negotiate reductions in nuclear weapons capabilities since 2010, but no potential adversary has reduced either the role of nuclear weapons in its national security strategy or the number of nuclear weapons it fields. Rather, they have moved decidedly in the opposite direction, according to the report, which was released on Tuesday and specifically mentions Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, all through the will of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai to bring about this third woe. As a result, there's an increased potential inevitability for regional conflicts involving nuclear-armed adversaries in several parts of the world and the potential for adversary nuclear escalation in crisis or conflict. Here's an image. The U.S. Air Force has released a new visualization of the secretive B-21 Raider stealth bomber Tuesday. This is only the third artist's graphic of the aircraft designed to perform long-range conventional and nuclear missions. A Russian Yars carrying an intercontinental nuclear missile system drives during the Victory Day parade in Red Square in Moscow, Russia on June 24, 2020. A Dongfeng 41 Intercontinental Strategic Nuclear Missiles Group formation marches to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China in Beijing on October 1st, 2019. So hey, just some examples of the three big players of this upcoming third woe building back up their nuclear arsenals. Russia and China are the most serious threats to the United States because of the technology and arsenals they already possess. In 2019, Russia and the U.S. withdrew from their 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And I think it's funny that you can see the bias in this article with them mentioning Russia first and then the U.S. withdrawing from the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which, if you remember during that time, it was President Donald Trump that pushed heavily for the U.S. to leave the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, as well as cause a lot of other nuclear weapons treaties to try to avert a nuclear war from taking place to fall apart, which required the U.S. and Soviet Union to eliminate all of their nuclear and conventional ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles with ranges of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. The two countries extended the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty for 5 years in 2021, which is all futile. This third woe is inevitable, and nothing will happen to stop it from coming to its fulfillment. The agreement, dubbed the New START, enhances U.S. national security by placing verifiable limits on all Russian deployed intercontinental range nuclear weapons. Russia, which considers the U.S. and NATO principal threats to its contemporary geopolitical ambitions, modernized its Soviet warhead delivery capabilities, is employing new nuclear warheads and launchers, and developing 3 new intercontinental range nuclear weapon systems. The weapon systems include high-tech planes, ground-launched cruise missiles, and underwater autonomous torpedoes. Here's some more images. A Tu-22M3 bomber of the Russian Air Force capable of carrying nuclear warheads takes off from the Hmeimim Air Base in Syria. A Borai-class nuclear-powered submarine launches an RSM-56 Bulava ballistic nuclear missile in the Barents Sea. China has increased its number and capabilities of nuclear weapons, including its most advanced submarine-launched missiles. China is also developing a bomber, which would allow China to fire weapons by land, sea, and air. North Korea has accelerated its pursuit of nuclear weapons and dramatically increased its missile flight testing, most recently including the testing of intercontinental range missiles capable of reaching the U.S. homeland, according to the U.S. report. North Korea's continued pursuit of nuclear weapons capabilities poses the most immediate and dire proliferation threat to international security and stability. Iran has the technology and capacity to develop a nuclear weapon within a year of when it decides to do so, the Pentagon report says. Iran's aggressive strategy and activities to destabilize neighboring governments raises questions about its long-term commitment to forging nuclear weapons capability. Some more images. A photo released by the official North Korean Central News Agency shows a new type of submarine-launched nuclear ballistic missile. On October 2nd of 2019, a file photo provided by the North Korean government shows an underwater launch missile lifting off in the waters off North Korea's eastern coastal town of Wonsan. China has released rare footage of its nuclear-capable hypersonic missile DF-26 being launched during a military exercise in 2018. In this March 21st of 2020, photo provided by the North Korean government shows a rocket launch at an undisclosed location in North Korea. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard conducted a drill on January 16th, launching anti-warship ballistic missiles at a simulated target in the Indian Ocean. Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, but the 2020 report says the Pentagon believes it can create one in a year if it chooses to do so. That's it with this article. Hey, just a quick update on this upcoming third woe. Back in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12, one woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. World War III, which will be nuclear, is inevitable, and nothing will happen to stop that prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. As it says in Isaiah 55, verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Nuclear war, nuclear holocaust, World War III, that third woe, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. And like I said earlier in the video, the United States of America, Babylon the Great, is going to be hit with 200 million nuclear missiles from nations like Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, as well as the allies of the U.S., like Britain, France, Germany, and these other NATO nations that are going to turn against her in that day. And it's going to get turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And now I'm going to close it out in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12, which gives a description of the painful death you people, mainly in the United States of America, are going to suffer when this third woe takes place and these nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. So it's talking about you heathen nations coming against the children of Israel, chiefly you Edomites. And on another level, it can talk about 2/3 of the nation of Israel that have come against the elect by scoffing at the men of the Lord on the highways and byways, as well as scoffing on our videos. You 2/3 are going to take part in this nuclear destruction when those 200 million nuclear missiles hit the United States of America. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth, getting burned up by those nuclear missiles. And a perfect visualization of Zechariah 14 verse 12 was that scene in Terminator 2 where Sarah Connor had that dream of nuclear war. And here's a quick gif of it. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Point blank, period. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.